like, you heard the terms as someone was, gay or queer, and they were like insults and they were derogatory. So even though I knew that I didn't feel like I fit in anything. And I felt like and I talk about it in the books about feeling like I was almost like the character Dexter from the TV show, except no killing people. But
Thank you
in one
for
of
the clarification on that.
in one of the episodes, he specifically described himself as in every social setting, he had to figure out whether he's supposed to be happy here and I was like, oh shit, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I felt like I was trying to fit in. And, I did all the things that everyone said you had to do until, life smacked me in the face and I went, oh, now all these other things make a lot of sense.
Alrighty, it is time to stop hitting snooze and awaken to a life worth being, the fun and inspiring podcast that dives deep into what makes life truly fulfilling. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, a self-proclaimed badass transformational life coach for women over 40. Join me as I explore the extraordinary journeys of ordinary people who've transformed their lives from the inside out. Tune in weekly to uncover the secrets to smashing through your perceived limits and creating a life that's not just well lived, but totally worth being. Hello, hello, hello. I feel like it's been forever since I've been behind the microphone, but I had a backlog of guests and I am kind of starting a new cycle of guests. And my first guest in this new cycle is Lisa Kirkman. And Lisa is an authenticity coach, podcaster, and multi-business owner who helps people burn the script. Remember those words. We're going to talk about them later. And who they think they should be so that they can live and lead as who they really are. She came out as a lesbian at 46 after decades of hiding behind roles, expectations, and a perfectly curated life. Now in her 50s, she's living her most unapologetic life and bringing others with her. She's the host of Big Gay Overhauls podcast. I love that title. And she's also the author of Dying Inside and her new book, Burn the Script, a manifesto. And the force behind multiple coaching brands that blend radical honesty, no BS mindset work, and a whole lot of heart. Whether she's coaching fitness clients, late in life lesbians, or CrossFit affiliate owners, Lisa shows up real, raw, and ready to rumble. Actually, ready to challenge the status quo. So Lisa, welcome to the show. I'm so excited. We have so much to talk about today. And I love that bio. You're amazing. So let's hit it.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's awesome to be here. And now when you read back the bio, I'm like, oh, I don't know how I can live up to that. It sounds like I'm very busy, but yeah, thank you. And I'm super excited to be here. I love your podcast and the stories you tell. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Lisa, I think we have so much to talk about today. I'd love for you to, coming out at 46 is no easy task. Coming out in general is no easy task, but I was fortunate enough to do it when I was like 17. So, but you waited, and both of your books will reflect the reason, or do reflect the reason why you waited and what it's like for you now. So why don't you kind of give us a little background on your story, please?
Yeah. And, there are pros and cons to coming out like at 17, but also to coming out later, even though we don't see the pros necessarily at the time. But yeah, I grew up in a small country town, and like in the generation grew up in the 80s, it wasn't really a done thing. Like, you heard the terms as someone was, gay or queer, and they were like insults and they were derogatory. So even though I knew that I didn't feel like I fit in anything. And I felt like and I talk about it in the books about feeling like I was almost like the character Dexter from the TV show, except no killing people. But
thank you for the clarification on that.
In one of the episodes, he specifically described himself as in every social setting, he had to figure out whether he's supposed to be happy here and I was like, oh shit, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I felt like I was trying to fit in. And, I did all the things that everyone said you had to do until, life smacked me in the face and I went, oh, now all these other things make a lot of sense. Oh, and even still then I sat on it for, you know, 10 years before I actually then did anything about upending my life and upending everybody else's life and deciding that I could no longer live the way that I was. So, yeah, I mean, once I knew, I still sat with it for another 10 years of like, maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't understand, but this can't be a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
10
yeah.
years is a long time to sit on hatching that egg for sure.
Yeah,
Whew.
yeah. There's a
Wow.
and lot of when I look back now, because I always seem to go through life, always, I would fight with the authority at the golf clubs that I was a member with, and I was always fighting some battle with something, and at work, and always some level of conflict. But that's because I was so out of alignment and unhappy with who I was. Like I was trying to make myself fit and find something. So I was, continually battling. As soon as I made this decision and someone said to me, one of my good friends said, "You're so much lighter now. Like you're just at peace with the world." And I was like, "Well, yeah, actually, I do fight a lot less with just anyone and everything. It's just been a different experience that when I'm now where I'm supposed to be, and I'm okay with me, then I'm okay then with everybody else."
Yeah, that is so true. I think a lot of us, whether whatever internal conflicts we have come out externally.
Mm,
And I've noticed that, people is like, and you can't take that on as somebody that, if you notice like, ooh, that person's like, whoa, what's going on there?
mm,
You just have to kind of stay in your lane and be like, okay, that's that person's stuff. And they need to come to terms with that or do whatever. So
mm,
tell me a little bit about during that 10 years, right? That's a long
mm,
time. You realized, okay, I've been living this inauthentic life, and now I have to untangle myself and blow up my world.
mm.
How did you go about it?
Um, with great difficulty, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I had in so I had my catalyst relationship in 2010, 2011, which,
Mhm.
as they tend to do, ended in a ball of flames. And, I then worked my way through that. And then when in 2020, I started seeing a counselor for, I wanted to deal with some childhood trauma to see why I had trouble relating to people and connecting with people. And even like in the business I owned, getting my staff on side. Like I always felt like I was deeply polarizing. People either really loved me or they really hated me, and they would flip from one side to the other
Hmm.
really quickly. And I was like, it must be something to do with, when I was a kid or why I do these things. Through that process, it cemented who I was. And I was like, oh, right. Didn't actually cover any of the childhood trauma. We just got into this stuff. And in that process, I met my now wife, and like she just provided a space for me to be. Like we were started as friends, and like it was okay. Well, if you need somewhere to go, if you need to leave, your marriage and your home, and you need somewhere safe, you can stay here. Like because that was one of my concerns. Is like, well, I can't just leave everything. I could be out in the street, and and all the worst case scenarios I envisaged. As I'm incredibly blessed, but none of the worst case scenarios came to fruition. Like,
Yeah.
my ex-husband and I, it was very amicable, very, we've been married 17-ish years. It was just very, you know, respectful and amicable. Like we're still, good friends now, and we still, chat all the time and all that sort of stuff. But everything I was worried about that it was going to blow up, like never happened. But I still had to, I think it took me months. I think probably I moved out in January. It wasn't until June that I actually came out to him, because it took 6 months of me. Every week I felt like I was turning up to my therapist going, so maybe we could do it this way. Or what about if I do it that way? And what because my main interest was protecting everybody else rather than, which is what I'd done my whole life, like what's best for everybody else, not what's best for Lisa.
Yeah.
And then when I started going, I'm just compelled to do this thing, then it just became, a bit easier just to say the words. Like even the day that most of the time when I came out to people, I wasn't even expecting I was going to do it that day. Like I'd, catch up with a friend for coffee and go, so I think I'm gay. And they're like, okay, cool. Or, well, duh, was the usual answer.
Right.
But
You're like, well, it took you long enough.
yeah. And, one of my really good friends, he worked for me as a coach at the gym. And I'd been trying to catch up with him. I'm like, dude, we need to catch up. We need to talk. And I finally got down there one morning and I said to him, I said, I need to talk to you. He goes, yeah, I know. We've been trying to connect. And so I told him and he gave me the biggest hug. He said, oh, thank Christ. I thought you had cancer or something. I thought it was something, big. And I went, well, this is big to me. And he's like, no, this is great, and any other alternative was going to be awesome for him. So it was a process. And then I went, well, I've started telling people now I need to go and tell, my now ex-husband because like, I don't want something to, someone to let something. And I was like, and I didn't even know I was going to do it on the day. He came down, talk about something else. So I said, so there's something I need to tell you. And I just told him. And I was like, wasn't expecting that. And I remember coming home and saying to Sharon, so I did this today. And she's like, okay, how are you? Like every day it was an adventure. I was like, who have you told today? And yeah, but it was just that once the lid came off the bottle, it became a lot easier to, be okay with me and have those conversations and know that it would be okay.
Yeah. I think, like you said, it was unexpected and you just couldn't keep it in anymore. Once you uncorked it, it was like, okay, oh, by the way, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you also had some not positive reactions as well.
Yeah. And I've been really, really blessed all throughout this entire journey, even, with the podcast and everything. I have had very small number of like negative reactions. And
That's great.
when I was talking to, I was going through my list of people like, oh, should I tell this person or should I tell that person? There were a couple of friends that were like, oh, right. So straight away, I knew that I just moved them to an outer circle and still love them, still care about them, still will like their Facebook post, but they don't need to come with me on this next stage of my journey. Maybe our relationship was based on, something else, and that's okay. We can still have that. But if they're not going to be all in, then that's cool. And that's even been some family as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started, Glennon Doyle talks in Untamed about having their island. Like you can't come on the island if you're not going to be cool about it. So I had circles. It's like, okay, well, and it's almost like a chess piece. I physically move them just to that next layer or the next one out. And I used to be someone who was like, accumulating friends on, your Facebook friends list or that sort of stuff. And like, then I started to shrink it and I felt so much better because I'm like, I don't need, hundreds of people. I have my circle who actually know me and have shown up for me during, this challenging time. They're my people now.
Yeah.
And started to be able to let go of a lot of things that I had attached to for security and validation because I wasn't even giving validation to myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's very well put. And I like what you were saying about, letting those people go and being okay with it. Cause I think that we have to do that with people and stuff and relationships, and I think it is hard because we do, I mean, even with stuff we attach some emotional connection to some stupid thing, right? And they're like, well, I'm going to keep this forever. Why? Right? What? And when you do, or you are able to let go of especially people in our lives that aren't, and things and whatever it is that vices maybe or something that are no longer serving you, it lightens our load, right? And we can now put our carry-on in the overhead bin and not have to check the steamer trunk anymore when we travel.
And it is, that's a perfect way of saying it. You are so much lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know even when I first moved out, like I didn't take a lot of my stuff. Like I did it like incrementally, but I was like, I don't want any of the furniture. I don't want any of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't serve who I am anymore. Like that's just stuff. I don't, I took my essentials and, my bits and pieces, but I wasn't going to argue over chairs and tables and benches. It's like, it's just stuff. It doesn't matter. Like I'd rather have next to nothing in a house and be who I am rather than fill it with things.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's an incredible journey, and now you're on the other side of it, and
Yep.
now you can actually process it and document it. So your first book was called Dying Inside, and
Mm.
clearly that resonates with me, having heard your story. When did you write Dying Inside?
So it was a bit of a process over last year, and I
Mhm.
put it out sort of towards the end of the year where I kept being drawn back to the concept of like when you're not living authentically, like it feels like you're dying inside. Essentially, you can't breathe. And I started looking at the way that the effects of not living authentically manifested physically.
Mm, mhm.
So, there's a lot of people who struggle with, weight and sleep issues, skin issues, and your body knows. Like, if the body has no outlet for something, it will find a way to, put that out. And I'd been reading a lot of stuff about how, you know, cancers and how like negative energy and negative like environments can fuel that and negative environment in your brain. And then I started reflecting on my own journey and going, huh, because certain things became easier for me once I came out, became free. I went, oh, I don't seem to have that problem anymore. And I don't seem to have that. And started to connect the dots for myself. So, it started out was going to be a very short little ebook, just, put something out there that, because I'd started doing my own authenticity coaching at that time. I was like, oh, maybe this could be a good, thing. But then a bit like Burn the Script as well, it just grew. Burn the Script grew bigger again. But I was like, oh, once I started digging into it, I was like, this is an actual thing that people struggle with, but you don't realize it when you're in it, which is why I wanted to put it out there. Like when you're in it, you think, my bones ache. I'm just dead tired all the time. I don't feel great, but this is part of getting older, or this is just how life is. And it can feel like you're suffocating. And I was like, but it's so much better, like you said, on the other side, where I was like, oh. So I wanted to sort of create a pathway, I guess, to help people shine a light on it. It's, why I started the podcast, being late in life lesbian. When I was going through it, I'm like, I'm the only one who's ever done this. This is not a done thing. And then when you dig into it, you're like, oh, actually, no, I'm not Robinson Crusoe here. But there aren't many voices telling their stories because it's still cloaked in a lot of shame. So I was like, well, and someone had said to me, someone out there needs to hear your story so they can embark on their own and know it's going to be okay. So that's when I started doing that. But so for Dying Inside, that was very much the premise of someone will read this and hopefully it will spur them to make things a little bit better for themselves because they have that awareness. Once you're aware, you can change. But if you don't have awareness, you're just going to keep doing the same things and you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you brought up the the idea of awareness, because that is the core of everything. I think, so many people just go through life just shut down and accepting exactly what is delivered to them, and that's kind of the
Mm.
premise of your second book.
Yeah.
And then and then yeah, you just get, and then you just fall into a routine, and you have to stop and say, what is really going on here? And like you said, once you turn up the awareness volume, you're like, oh, oh, shoot, that is really, yeah, whoa. Well,
Mm.
let me turn that volume back down. No, turn it up louder. Turn it up
Yeah.
louder, because if you're not aware of something, or I think we are, a lot of us are aware, but we just choose not to listen, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, about the volume, once you see you cannot unsee it.
Exactly.
Like you are, once you have that, you can't look away because you're like, I need to fix this. And yeah, we choose to go along and in denial about a lot of things. But I think that when you have that awareness, and, one of the things I say to my coaching clients is, when the pain or the discomfort of change is less than the discomfort of staying the same, that's when we'll make that leap and take that step. Go, well, it's uncomfortable here, but it's really uncomfortable to stay here. So I'm just going to have to make that step, And I think it was one of my first authenticity coaching clients who'd read Dying Inside, and she's like, I know the extra weight I'm carrying is from this secret I'm carrying.
Yeah.
Like they just connected the dots, went, okay, now I know why this hasn't changed. And now they're coming out and they're, making change in their life. Some of those things are starting to get easier to manage physiologically. So,
Yeah. And I love that you brought the body into it as well, because I work with horses in my coaching practice, and horses are really good at bringing people back into their body, because when, you're up in your head and you're not being present, you get a 1,200-pound animal staring you in the face, and you're right. Then you're going to be like, oh, okay, what are you trying to tell me there, big guy? And it's just like, okay, when I ask people, like, what are you feeling? And they go, mad. What does mad feel like? Where does mad live in your body? Where does sadness live in your body? What is it? How does it manifest for you? And once again, that's that awareness thing. If you can turn up the physical awareness volume, then, that is huge. It really does, like, oh, I'm feeling this weird thing in my gut, or my chest is getting tight. Okay, what about this situation is evoking this response in my body?
yeah.
Like, what? Oh, okay, I don't feel safe, or I'm afraid, or I'm, whatever it is. So yes, the body, what's the name of that book? The Body Keeps Score, or Keeps the Score,
And
or something. Yeah.
even way back in the day, Louise Hay, you can heal your life. I remember reading that going, I mean, for a long time I go, oh, I've got a headache. What is this for now? And I was like, no, it's actually just a headache. Like, it's not
Yeah.
always something, but, there was awareness even, many, many years ago, but people dismiss that as, airy fairy. And as soon as you use the word like manifestation, people are like, oh, it's all woo woo. But you're right. Like when you're standing there looking, whether it's a dog, a cat, a horse, those things look right to your soul. Like when they look at you, because they have no filter and they're looking right into you, like, oh, and it makes it easier to then go, oh, well, actually, yeah, I do have this feeling and now I understand what it is. And all of my fighting with people was me being angry at being stuck and trying to find a way out. And then when you unpack it like that, you're like, oh, it makes so much more sense now.
Right. Yeah, same thing here. I used to react, like I was very reactive, and I was just mad. I was mad because I didn't feel good about myself, and so of course I'm going to lash out, because if somebody feels worse than I do, then I feel better. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Sorry, folks. Spoiler alert.
And it is. But you can't see it when you're in the storm.
Mm-mm.
You're operating primarily on survival mode.
Yep.
So you're like, how do I get up and not let the facade crumble and let everything fall apart today? And you just trying to keep all the plates spinning, keep the image and keep doing the things so that one of my things is like, I desperately wanted to be seen, but I desperately did not want to be seen. So all my relationships were superficial and at arm's length. And it was just, just that space where you wake up every day and you're like, I'm in the chaos, and you don't know.
Yeah.
As I said before, you don't know what you don't know. So you're like, I'm just going to keep doing this thing the best I can and try and keep everyone okay, rather than worrying about what keeps Sue okay, keeps Lisa okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to work with equanimity, and, finding that place. You're talking about being in the storm, whereas you want to be the eye of the storm. You want to be in that calm place as, chaos is all around you, whether it's your own chaos or someone else's chaos, but be able to find that center, find that spot where you can be quiet and understand, right? Be aware and understand, okay, I need to take care of myself. I understand what's going on around me. I don't need to be part of that. That's not my piece. I can stay in my lane, right? Whatever it is. And then I can move on and be
Mm.
okay.
Yeah. And, I used to fight everybody else's battles for them. And it's like, I just need to leave them with it. Like, that's not my battle to fight. Like, I can't drag everyone kicking and screaming to where I think they need to be. They've just got to do, and in my own coaching practice, it's like, you'll come to me when you're ready and then we'll do the work in stages. And it's
Yep.
at your pace. We can't, even when I'm working with business owners, like giving them a template for this is how you run an ideal gym doesn't work because that's not their vision. It's not in their way. Then it might not be ready. We've got to do what is it you want at your pace and that you're ready for. There's no point me giving you all the answers. Not that I have them, but you're just not going to do anything with it because it's overwhelming then.
Yeah. And one size does not fit all.
No,
I
it does
mean,
not.
templates are great and stuff, but take this template and color outside the lines. Make
Mm,
it yours. Make it, whatever.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
that's the premise, like, of the burn the script, I guess, is, you know, you have the ability to write whatever you want it to be, but we just are never, that's a bit, nobody ever tells us. We're so busy filling in the blanks and making ourselves fit the template rather than creating a template that fits ourselves. They're very different ways to look at it.
So when you were writing Burning the Script, you took your script that you had been living by, the
Mm-hmm.
untrue script, right? The fiction,
The fiction. Yeah.
and turned it into nonfiction. So tell me a little bit about your process. And I love that title, Burn the Script, because it's so true. You really, and I have physically done that where I write things down on a piece of
Mm-hmm.
paper. I go through like a, letting go process. And then I physically fold it up into a tiny little piece. And then I set it on fire and
Mm.
release it and the ashes and the smoke and everything. And I do feel lighter. Sometimes I have to do it a couple of times, but the physical aspect of burning the paper that you wrote the shit down on,
Mm.
I think has a lot to do with it. So I'd love to hear your
It
ideas.
And it does, it really takes it away. And I'd gone through that process. So at the end of last year, I went through a very traumatic experience. And I say traumatic, it's not bad in the scheme of life, but I had to leave a company that I loved and they were not doing the right things by me. And there was a lot of like, it was hard for me to let that go because I'd invested so much in the relationships with the people and I had something to belong to. And it was really hard. But part of the idea from Burn the Script came from letting go of some of those things and those stories and I started thinking more on it and digging more into my authenticity about, well, the people who tell us the stories we get when we're growing up, most times it's not malicious. Like, no one in my life said this is a good, go to school, get a job, meet the boy, get the house, get the kids, da da da. Like, that's all because that's all they knew. So it was just handed down. It wasn't a story that was intended to hurt me. And that's what I talk about in the book is that generally these stories are designed to keep us safe. Like, don't, be groundhog and stick your head up out of the ground. Like, just stay safe and you blend in and everything's good. Because we're told all through life, like the black sheep of the family, not a good thing.
Yeah.
Or stands out in a crowd or sticks out like a sore thumb. Like, we're told that over and over. And as I started digging into it and rewriting my own definition of what a good life is for me, not for anybody else's, was my definition. I'm like, no one knows that you can do that. You're like, well, this is just the way life is. And this is, they accept this is my station in life, and like my mother's a perfect example. Because I would apply for jobs and I'd get the job and then I'd be looking for the next step, the next thing. And she's like, why can't you just be happy with where you're at? Why do you always want more? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, I've always had that level of, well, what's the next thing and the next thing, to do. But she was, we're unlucky. Like, we don't get good things. Nothing good happens to us. And she's very negatively wired, as in, if someone has good fortune, oh, good life for them. Or, you know, it's not about, and she's just accepted her position
Mm-hmm.
and how life runs. And then that dictates the narrative of how life will run, because it's that self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always get.
Yep.
So digging into Burn the Script, I'm like, people just need permission. It was on a drive. My wife and I went to visit her godmother, and it's a 10-hour drive. So as you're on a road trip, you talk about things. And I was listening to Let Them with Mel Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, but people need permission to do that. They need to have a way of understanding that they can change the whole narrative, not just even, well, you do your thing, I'm just going to let you. It's like, how do I rewrite my own map and directions and program my own GPS? And we were talking on it. So I got home and I started like just making some notes and writing, and it was going to be a very simple little project. And I sent it out to some people to have a look at, because I'm like, oh, I feel like that this could be important. And next thing you know, it's like 25,000 words. And I'm like, oh, it's a big thing now, which has caused me to sit on it. But I wanted to find a way to communicate to people that you can give yourself permission to create the life that works for you. Sharon has been an excellent example for me. She has zero F's given about what other people think, or, and it's taken her a lot of work to get there. But she says no as a complete sentence. No, I don't want to go there. No, you know, we've created, and so we very intentionally curate and create the life we want and where our energy goes. And it's like, we can just do that. It's like, so how do I translate that into helping other people feel that freedom and going, you can set however you want. Just because this is the way it's always done doesn't mean this is the way it always has to be. So that was kind of the premise behind it, and what led me to start putting it together, I guess, which was a bit of building on the dying inside stuff. Like, okay, I recognize I'm living authentically. I've got all these things, but now what do I do with it? Where do I go from here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, giving ourselves permission and realizing that it's okay, right? And like you said, no is a complete sentence, because it is. And I think that we are by nature, most of us, people pleasers, and we don't want to go against societal norms, and which is what you were describing. And so some people don't realize, like you said, that there are options, that you do have choices. And then once you realize it, then you have to go about the process of, well, now that I know I have choices, what do I do? How do I make that choice and not piss everybody off or not make everybody feel bad? And then you have to give yourself permission to be like, it's okay to take care of myself, and it's okay to do what I feel is good for me. It's not selfish. It's self-care, it's self-realization, and that's a hard step for people. And like you said, staying, in your inauthentic life for so long, yeah, it's a lot. It's a process, and it's not easy, right? And which,
No.
like with your clients, I don't want to air anybody's dirty laundry, but can you give me a scenario of someone that came to you and how they were able to sort of apply the things that you're talking about?
Yeah, and I think with when I talk to people, and I did preface this in the book, like, burn the script doesn't mean you have to burn everything down in one big thing. Like, you don't have to completely change your life around. You could do tiny little micro steps that only just you know about, because at the front I said, look, it's not safe for some people just to go out there and come out and be who they are and do that. And I understand that. And I'm not irresponsible in like, well, this is the only way to be. Like, but you can do things that only you know about. And that's where it starts. But I've had, some clients come to me who, so I don't just work with, for example, women who are coming out late in life. I can, because, I guess that's my area of expertise of lived experience. But we build a foundation. I have a program, the Authenticity Blueprint, for any life change, where we build a foundation so that when you're ready to make the change, you've got all the structures around. So think about it like building a house. So find out what your values are, what makes you happy, what aligns with you. Why do you feel like that there's something that you want to change? Great. Get those things bedded in so you know who you are and where you're going. Great. We got our foundation. The next level is going to be, who is in my circle? So if everything goes really bad, who's going to be there to catch me? Or if I doubt, they're going to keep me going. Great. So I've got my support network. And then we talk about some more of the tangible things, like what do I need to do? If I'm going to leave a marriage and, move out, do I need to be able to have somewhere else to go? Where do I go? And also helping people understand, like, this is, okay, what's your worst case scenario? Like, what's the worst of the worst?
Yeah.
What's the best case scenario? And what's the best worst case that I can live with? Okay. So if anything happens, improve as that is my flaw, then I'm going to be okay. Because that was the step I struggled with, is like, the world's going to end. Everyone's going to hate me. I'm going to be all alone. It's going to be homeless. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And then you go, but when you can actually work through that and have, because as humans, we like to segment and compartmentalize. We like to know what's happening. We love spoilers. So if you can prepare yourself as like, okay, well, if this happens, here's what I'm going to do. If this happens, here's what I'm going to do. And how do I navigate this journey and do the things I have to do and avoid that worst case? So how do I, without getting into people pleasing necessarily, but it's like, how do I make sure I'm protected? So we build these foundations, and then it's like, if you want to pull the trigger, so if someone's looking to go into business for themselves, they always wanted to write a book or anything like that. Like, we can layer these steps so they're like, oh, it's not like this big, scary, overwhelming abyss that I'm just free falling into. It's, there's the next step is built in front of me, so I can take the step and feel some degree of safety, and I've helped people navigate that coming out late life journey, where they've been able to then eventually come out to their, husband or significant other or family, and it's been okay. Because they were in a better emotional place to have that conversation, because they had that safety around them, rather than just going in and going blah, 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 word vomit all over them. And then it turns into chaos, and then they're just reacting and everyone's reacting. It's like, how can I do this in a way that respects me, but also respects you and has grace for both of our journeys? Because quite often, like, if we talk about, even if it's somebody changing job or they just want to leave a relationship for whatever reason, you've had some time to come to terms with that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the other person, and, I find this a lot when people are coming out, it's like, oh, Sue didn't really react the way I wanted her to react. Well, maybe Sue needs a hot minute to process it, because you've been thinking on this for a bit and she found out 30 seconds ago. Like, she didn't know what was coming. So now it's not that she doesn't care about you or love you or want the best for you, but she just needs a minute to sit with it and process her own, like, how does this affect me, and do that. Like, you've had time. We need to have grace for the other people in our story. And if we can approach every conversation with grace for ourselves and grace for the other people, everything can be better. It's not always easy. It's not always smooth, but it can be. If you're coming at it from that place, I don't see how you can go wrong.
Yeah, that's great. And you touched on a few things there. I like nodding away for for those of you who are just listening. My head was shaking like a bobblehead. But yeah, owning, feeling comfortable with your story, feeling comfortable with what you're going to tell someone, because you've gotten to a certain point that you feel okay about it, and understanding that you can't control their reaction, and let them have it, right? In the
Yes.
words of Mel Robbins, let them have that reaction because they
Hmm.
need to sit with it. If they hang up the phone on you, they're going to sit with it. They may call you back. It may take them a minute or a week or a month or whatever, but let them have their space. And I love the fact that you said, let them have grace. Have grace for yourself and have grace for others, because I think that that is so important. So
Yeah.
thank you for bringing
I
that
think
up.
I think we can just, it's almost like we feel entitled that this is my journey and this is my thing and you should celebrate me.
Yeah.
Well, we're not entitled to anything. It's like I've shared with you my truth, but we just need to, like, if we could all just be a little bit more generous with each other in our expectations, or maybe not have any. I feel like,
Mhm.
and look, there are some relationships that are going to be changed, not for the better. But when we talk about the whole letting go of things, then, I'm a big believer in that old saying, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mhm.
And at the time, we don't understand why it has, you know, ended the way it has, but it's just their part in your story and the version of you that they know. Then you're moving on in a different version, and that version doesn't fit together. And that's okay, because you're grateful for the time you had. And then you just need to let that go with grace and love, and then go, but this new version won't align with that old. If all you knew was the old me, then you can't come forward, because if that's who you liked, I'm a totally different version now.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it's traumatic. And sometimes, like, the universe will do things. It will put you where you'll need to be if you are resistant to going. Like, if you're in a relationship that you really shouldn't be in, and you keep going back to it, and then it'll have this giant fireball ending. And that's because the universe is like, dude, you didn't get the hints. I'm gonna make this so you cannot go back to this situation, like, and slaps you around the head with a 4x2 to go, okay, you need to be here now. And then eventually you'll get there and you'll look back in time, you go, oh, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what you were trying to tell me. And since I sort of attach more to that reason, season, lifetime, and I look for that, then when something ends, I go, oh, okay, yeah, that was for that purpose in my life. That let me get there. And now I need to move to this, but I can't keep doing that. Which, the experience I spoke about earlier, the leaving the company I work for, and, like, they played a very cornerstone role in my initial part of my story. And, they were very important people in my life professionally, and then became personally, and who were some of the first people that I did come out to. But I realized that those relationships aren't going to help me be this next version of Lisa. They might have pushed me into this way, but I can't carry that with me, because that doesn't serve me anymore. And it wasn't serving me for a long time. I just didn't see it, and I wouldn't let myself see it. And then all of a sudden your eyes are open, you're like, oh, that'll be why. And then you can move on. But my hope is I get better at it and can learn a bit quicker. But yeah.
Everything in good time is what I have to say about that. Um, but it's true that, when you let go of something, like you said, or a relationship or people, there's a number of reasons for that. And I think another reason, personally, is that they're not challenging you anymore, or
Mm,
they're trying to hold you back.
mm,
And you're not going to go on and grow if you maintain that circle of people or relationships or whatever it is that's that's holding on to you, that's keeping you
mm.
stuck, and that's not allowing you to grow. And it's just like, it's okay. They like,
And I think we're
yeah,
meant to grow. We're meant to
absolutely.
continually evolve. Like, even, like, once I came out, like, my journey didn't end. It wasn't like, hey, I'm here and that's it. Like, I have evolved. Lisa of 5 years ago is very different to Lisa now.
Yeah.
And if we don't keep evolving and growing, we do ourselves a disservice. And we could continue to evolve and grow in a negative way and just get deeper in the hole we're in. But even like the tiniest step forward is something that we need to recognize within ourselves and celebrate.
Yeah.
Like, it's what lets us be. That's the best part of the human experience. There is no right way to human, like, apart from being a good human and not being a dirtbag. But, like, if you're just trying to live your best life and get ahead, like, there's no right or wrong way to do that. No one can tell you, Sue, I think you should live this way. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me and my anything.
That has
There's
never
no
worked for me.
guidebook. There's no rule book or guidebook, but we're taught, like, this is who you should be. This is the definition of a good life. Well, you and I both don't have that definition in classical terms. So, but I think my life is good, and I'm sure you believe that your life is good.
Yeah.
It's, we're just out here doing us the best way we can.
We are out here doing us. And while we're doing us, I would love to, this has been such a great conversation, and I really appreciate you and all of your wisdom, and so much of it resonates with me. It's, similar to things that I've gone through in my life. And I would love for you to, if you could just leave my listeners with, one thought or one actionable thing or something, and then tell people if they want to work with you, how they can work with you, and what's the best way to find you.
Yeah, well, I think to leave people with something is that they have the power within them to be whatever it is that they want to be. And even the tiniest step forward is a win. If you decide that you want to be a writer, but you don't want to tell anyone about it, that's cool. Just open up a document on your computer and for 10 minutes every day, write something in it. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone. Just do the smallest step that you can manage to get you closer to the thing you want to be, and don't prejudge it and pre-filter it. But you can be and do whatever it is that you want in your own life. Like, you can publish a book. Like, if I can publish a book, anyone can publish a book. Like, it's so accessible now. Like, but you've just got to start by putting some words on a page. Like, the smallest thing, if you want to reclaim your identity, again, tell it to yourself first. Look yourself in the eye in the mirror. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. And, I did say this at the start of the book, like, your journey doesn't have to be the same as mine. You don't have to completely flip your life, 180 degrees. But these lessons apply to many stages of life and any big life change and transition. So there's a lot of words for one thing that people can do.
I got it, though. I got it. And I'm just going to recap. Take tiny steps. And I talk about this all the time. I call them turtle steps or baby steps. And then when you take that baby step, celebrate it. Celebrate it. Give yourself a big high five, pat on the back, whatever you need to do to celebrate it. But you earned it. You took a step. You did something. You put some words on a page. You drove a different way home. Whatever it is, right?
Yeah. It just anything that you can. You've got more control over your life than you give yourself credit for that you can do. But yeah, I'm available if people want to listen to more of my rambling thoughts on the Big Gay Overalls podcast. It's available on all the platforms and YouTube. I've got a TikTok channel for it, which, I enjoy just doing random video stuff on that. Not the dances. You will not see me dance. But also, I do authenticity coaching around setting the foundation. So it's not coaching as, well, I'm going to sign you up to a 12-month contract. Like, it's a 6-week program that we usually runs for 8 weeks because we do a bit of an intro week and a wrap-up week. It's 6 weeks where you can set a foundation for any change that you want to make. And there's homework and there's worksheets and there's a weekly call and we one-on-one, and it's individualized to your particular thing that you want to work through. So it's not always about, does that mean someone actually sent me a thing on TikTok going, can I work with you even though I'm not gay? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I won't make you gay either. It's cool. Like, if you're having a big life transition, could be anything. Like, I find that I've worked with a few mothers who are working through the change of now being empty nesters. So who am I and how do I work with my significant other in reconnecting with us? Like, that sort of work, anything that's a big life transition, you can use these steps to set yourself up for success.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. And we'll put all your contact information in the show notes and your TikTok. And I love watching your TikToks. They're very fun. And Lisa, I can't thank you enough for getting up now, mind you, Lisa is in Australia and it's now like what, 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m.?
Yeah, it's nearly 5:30 here. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for getting up before the crack of dawn to be with me on the show. I greatly appreciate it. And to everyone out here, if this has resonated with you, like I said, it's not about coming out. It's about making changes in your life and being okay with that. If this has resonated with you, awesome. If this is resonating with you, that you know someone that would love this episode, please share it with a friend. Please rate our podcast and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And we will be back next week on A Life Worth Being with more awesomeness for you.
Thanks, mate.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Take care. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Life Worth Being. I hope you found it fun and inspiring. And to avoid a bad case of FOMO, please be sure to click that subscribe button. If you love what you heard today, please share it with a friend and then hop on over to your favorite podcast platform and return the love with a wonderful review and 5-star rating. It would truly mean the world to me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and on my website, links below in the show notes. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week for more fresh insights on awakening a life worth being.